Should you self-publish or should you publish with a New York publishing company? There are pros and there are cons. Let's look at both sides of the picture so you can make the right decision that's right for you. Hi, I'm Dan Janal, the author of more than a dozen books, including Write Your Book in a Flash. I'm a book coach, developmental editor, and ghostwriter. And no matter where you are in the writing process, I can help you write your book. Now, let's get started. I've had 6 books published by John Wiley, a major New York publisher. Those books were translated into 6 languages, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. But the world has changed a lot since I published my books with them. In fact, it changes almost every day and every week. There are many reasons to go with the New York publisher, and there are some reasons not to go with the New York publisher. Let's look at a couple of the positive things that a publisher can do for you, and some things that you may not be aware of that you need to be aware of, so you go into this with your eyes open. Okay, great. Let's get started. Okay, number 1, prestige. Going with a New York publisher like a Penguin, a McGraw-Hill, a Wiley, or other very well-known brand name companies can lend a certain amount of prestige to your book and therefore to you because the branding rubs off on you. It's very, very nice. But the truth of the matter is that most of your prospects don't know a Wiley from a self-published book. They just don't. If I ask you who published John Grisham's books or Danielle Steele's books or Stephen King's books, would you know the answer? Probably not. Most people don't know who the major publishers even are. And some major publishers have imprints that most people just don't even know about. They're not aware of them. So you might think they're prestigious, but your prospects may not know them at all. So the prestige may not be there. What's another good reason for going with the publisher? Well, they take care of all the production for you. We're talking about the copy editing, the proofreading, the layout, the cover design, the back cover design. All that can be pretty expensive if you have to do it yourself, but they do it for you. So you are not paying that money, and that's good. Also, they're very good at distributing books. So if a bookstore like Amazon wants to order your book because someone comes in and asks for your book, they can take care of that. Of course, the downside is that everyone buys their books from Amazon these days. So they don't necessarily have to go into a bookstore to get your book. They can go to Amazon and buy your book. So those are some reasons why you might have thought it was a great idea to go with a major publisher, but they're really not such great reasons at all. Let's look at some definite disadvantages that you may not be aware of as well. Number 1, no advances. Unless you have a huge platform, and by platform I mean number of followers and the ability to attract many followers, like by appearing on television and large speaking events and such like that, unless you have hundreds of thousands of people following you, you're a nobody. And they'll treat you like a nobody because they won't give you an advance. So the days of getting $100,000 advances are gone. In fact, if someone is selling you a program on the internet on how to get a $100,000 advance from a publisher, run, because it's just not happening to normal people anymore. Maybe if you're a celebrity, you're a movie star, fine. But chances are if you're watching this video, you're not a celebrity or a movie star. Okay, next, the money. It all comes back to money. Let's say you do get a deal with a publisher, and they're going to give you a percentage of the sales of the book. You don't get the whole thing. You didn't think you were going to get the whole list price of the book, did you? No, of course not. But here's something you may not have thought about. Let's say your book sells for $20, and the publisher has to sell the book to a bookstore, and the bookstore wants their cut, and Amazon wants their cut. So let's keep the math simple. Let's say it's a 50-50 split. So your $20 book, the publisher is getting $10 net on your book. And your royalty is based on the money the publisher receives. So if you have a 10% royalty, you're getting $1 on that $20 book. Do the math quickly. $20 book, 50-50 split. Publisher gets $10. You get 10% of that. That's $1. Okay? Nothing wrong with making $1 a book, but it's only $1 a book. You could do a lot better if you self-publish. And I have another video on self-publishing that you want to watch as well. Okay, so royalties, you're not going to make a lot of money on royalties unless you're selling hundreds of thousands of copies of your book. Okay, money, number 3. It used to be that you got royalties. We already talked about that. But now the focus has shifted. Instead of publishers giving you money to publish your book, now they've adopted what they call the shared risk model, which is really a misnomer because they're asking you to buy 5,000 copies of your book at their cost, say $5 or $6 a book. So they're sharing the risk if the book doesn't sell well. Now, here's the thing. They're not taking any risk at all because it costs maybe $5,000, $6,000 to do all that production that we talked about, the proofreading, copying, cover design, and such like that. They're charging basically $30,000 for that. So they're not risking anything. You're risking $30,000 to have your book published by a name brand publisher. Is that going to be worth it to you? Is it worth it to have that kind of distribution and the brand name on the book? Maybe it is. Who am I to say? I just want you to be aware of that. Now, some people may be thinking, well, if I go with a major publisher, they're going to promote my book. They're going to do publicity, we'll do a publicity tour, get me on television shows, have book reviews in newspapers, and we'll make money that way. So it'll be worth it to use the contacts that those publishers have. Well, again, that's a myth. They won't lift a finger to help you. I can show you hundreds of case studies of people who thought the publisher was going to help them, but they really didn't. They might have sent out an email to a list of reviewers that they have on their house list, but they do that for hundreds of books and the reviewers get hundreds of requests and they don't have time to do it. So it really doesn't go anywhere. It really doesn't. So they're really not going to promote your book with publicity. Maybe you've seen full page ads in Publishers Weekly or the New York Times review of books on Sundays, where publishers are taking out a full page ad promoting any number of books. Well, guess what? The authors are actually paying for that advertising. So do you want your book to appear with 20 or 30 other books on a page? Or do you want to put that same money so your one book is appearing on one page in some other promotion that you can do much more effectively? Finally, it takes a long time for a major publisher to actually publish your book. They have their own schedule. Their schedule is not necessarily your schedule. So if you want to have a book out there in 6 months, so you can hit the speaking circuit and the lecture circuit and do more coaching and consulting and make money from your book that way, you might have to wait a year or 2 or even 3 years before the publisher can edit the book and get it into their catalog and get it into their production cycle, because that's the way they work. It is. Now, you might have seen some political books come out faster than you could possibly imagine. Yes, because they have a short shelf life. People are interested in politics, and then 2 years later, no one cares about that anymore. Your book is not that kind of book. Your book is not going to be fast-tracked to get to the bookstores. So it's going to be a long, slow process where you're going to make maybe $1 a book, and it's going to take a long time for that to happen. So those are reasons why you do not want to work with a major publisher. Check out my video on why you should self-publish your book and ways to save money by self-publishing your book.